Welcome, 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 everybody. I gotta get this off. Ah, there we go. I lost you. Welcome, welcome, everybody. We have a special guest, and she is an ASL interpreter. I am so excited. Her name is Miss Diane, and we are now, and I'm going to try not to cry. We are now fully ASL inclusive, meaning accessible. And I'm so happy. We will be having her when she's available. And I'm so excited. But right now, let's do our happy birthdays. So here we go.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to Kim. Oh, may it be a sweet day. Happy birthday, Amy. Enjoy it with your family. Kendra, happy blessed birthday. Sylvia, enjoy your birthday weekend. Christine, happy birthday. Sean, enjoy this beautiful day with your family. Karen, blessed birthday. Gracie, happy birthday. Sandra, beautiful doll, happy birthday. Courtney, happy birthday. Billy, happy birthday. Oh my gosh, happy birthday. And Claremont, happy birthday to everybody. May it be an awesome day for y'all and a fabulous weekend. Yay! Happy birthday! I am so excited. Okay. We have some interesting things today. Interpreter, can we come back just a little? Just a hair. I'm losing your hands. This is our first day, so we will be making adjustments. Everybody just be a little patient with us. Okay, that's better. Oh, your curtain's splitting. Um, we are just working things out, and that looks good. That's great. Perfect. All right, welcome everybody. Who all is in chant, Miss Peggy? Happy Miss Peggy. Haley Mouse. Oh, good evening from a rainy England. Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. Well, we are going to have a word from our sponsor. As you know, I'm a coffee addict. So we're going to have a quick word from our sponsor. And as you always know, we'll be right back. Oh, I got to get it. There we go. Hey, y'all. I am so excited. We have our very first sponsor, and I'm wearing this hat to honor them. Who is it? Well, it's coffee, my favorite thing. This coffee is from Hitchman Homestead Coffee. This is the Shooter Shack Coffee Pioneer Nicaraguan Roast. This coffee is so delicious, y'all. It is so smooth. It does not leave a chemical taste on the back of the tongue. It's not overly bitter. And I have to tell you, it is my favorite. And I am now getting rid of all my other coffee. I kid you not. They have a monthly subscription available. You get 4 12-ounce bag a month, either whole beaned or ground. And then you can also get a Keurig option as well. The other thing they have is wonderful gift boxes that you can send to your loved ones. So you want to support a fabulous home business and people here in the Hill Country, go to hitchmanhomestead.com and let them know I sent you and grab yourself some of the best tasting coffee we have here in Texas Hill Country. Welcome back, everybody. They really are a fabulous couple. Their coffee is so smooth. It's got great depth of flavor without being bitter. And that's the wonderful thing about fresh roasted and ground coffee. You can get it in whole bean. Well, y'all, we hope you had a wonderful 4th of July. And I know I did. I worked behind the scenes. And then I went swimming with my son and some friends. And luckily, look, no sunburn. I usually sunburn. Okay. Well, we are going to hop on and we're going to start today's live. Uh-oh. Sorry. My ears just dropped. Oh, no. Give me a second. I'll get them back on. So what we're going to do today is we are going to close the Karen Reed trial for now, unless something special hops on. And then what we're going to do is just talk about it when it happens. But I've got 2 videos we're going to watch today, and I was shocked at one of those videos. In fact, it was very, very interesting. Oh, thank you guys so much, everybody. I appreciate you joining. Okay, so we're going to watch the first video. Let me get the share screen ready. Hi, did you? My dog is excited because my daughter came in. One of the videos that we're going to share, I was floored. Just did not expect to hear what we heard. So we're going to watch that. Hi, Zach. Howdy, neighbor. Thank you for joining. You're coming at a good time. I don't know if you have seen this video or not, but it's a good one. So let's get ready. Okay, I got to make an adjustment. Okay. And here we go.
So my name's Michael Shute. I'm a history teacher in Weymouth. Yeah, so my earliest memories of John were on the basketball court. I would guess about 6th grade, 7th grade. He was a terrific athlete. Always had a big smile on his face. He enjoyed playing the game. I remember his brother Paul would run on the court, and he was another gym rat, and they were both really good athletes. Braintree youth basketball was a big part of my life and for a lot of us. I have some pretty vivid memories of John just shooting the ball and scoring. He scored a lot of points, and then he would just run down the court with a big smile on his face. Mm-hmm. That's just the type of kid he was. When he got older, when he was in high school, he wasn't quite as dominant an athlete as he was when he was little. When he was little, he was unbelievable. I remember soccer, he was always scoring goals, and basketball, he was always scoring baskets. But then when he got a little older, he hadn't fully grown as a lot of kids do as 15 and 16. Mm-hmm. And then I remember bumping into him, and I want to guess I was probably about 25, somewhere between 25 to 30. And he had shot up, and he was big, and he was confident. And I remember him telling me that he was a police officer, and I was actually surprised. And nothing against police officers, but oftentimes a police officer is not a smiley, friendly person like John is.
Did you keep in touch with him up until he passed away?
No, I didn't. We weren't very close. We would all, he was a grade below me. We would all hang out in the study hall before basketball practice. And I remember him as being pretty studious. And whenever there was a joke and we were joking around, he would just smile. Mm-hmm. He'd just laugh and smile. Just a very, really pleasant kid. Mm-hmm. But we weren't friends outside of school. And that was really my only interaction with him. I didn't talk to him that often. I played basketball. I played football and baseball and basketball at Braintree High. And then I went over to Thayer Academy. And I really didn't see John after Braintree High School. Mm-hmm. And I bumped into his brother Paul, who was on a recruiting trip when he came to Trinity. Mm-hmm. And just he was a lot like John in the sense he's just a really nice kid. And I felt because of that Braintree connection we had, I felt like, let me take this kid under my wing a little bit. Mm-hmm. And he was there with a couple other Braintree kids. I think he ended up going to another school. Mm-hmm. But he was like I said, very much like John, just a really nice kid.
That's exactly what I would say too. Yeah, just a good kid, good family. Did you know Mr. O'Keefe?
So I do remember. I remember him at the games. He was coaching. If you were at a BYB or Branch Youth Basketball All-Star game, he might be one of the coaches or one of the dads on the sideline. And just a very easygoing guy. And the kids just really liked him. I never had him as a coach, but I know that the kids who did have him as a coach, they really loved him. And I just remember how good he was. And I remember thinking, I want to be that good. And I do remember in one incident where he scored and then he stole the inbounds pass and then he immediately scored again. It was 4 points in a matter of seconds. And one of the things I do remember about his family is that they were there and they were cheering. They call him Johnny or they call him JJ.
Yeah.
And there was just a lot of positivity. And it helps that John would score a lot of baskets, but I remember Kristen would cheer. She was very vocal in her support, and John just had a big smile on his face. And I think when I saw him many years later, it was the same thing. It was just, and that's how I recognized him. Just a big smile, generous. He like when people say that he buys everyone's beers. That's what he does.
Yeah.
Or that was my memory of the last time seeing him. Immediately, he wanted to buy me a beer, and I talked with him for about 20 minutes, and we caught up. And it was, it was just, it was good to see him, and I was happy for him. He seemed like, one of the, just a really nice kid, and someone who had gained confidence.
Yeah.
Through the years, he seemed a lot more confident than when I knew him in high school. So a friend of mine called me up Saturday night. It was around 8:00, 9:00. And he told me that John was deceased and that his girlfriend had hit him. And basically,
You're right. I'm sorry. Right now, I'm going to be pausing off and on through this video. John O'Keefe, his father, the family seems to be a very kind and good family. And John O'Keefe was never married, as far as I understand. And yet he took in 2 children that were his sisters, and she passed away, and then her husband passed away 2 months later. So he took in his niece and nephew. He was always buying drinks and just joyful and just a really good spirited man. And it really frustrates me when in this trial, some people tried to tarnish that reputation. So now we're going to be getting into the actual case and his opinions. And I will be stopping off and on because, y'all, there's some shockers here. Here we go.
basically that she had backed up and he must have been drunk and he must have been knocked down. And then he had some bumps and bruises or something to that effect. And I immediately said, that makes no sense. And he said, you're right, but there was a taillight pieces there was some kind of a link to the house where he died, which is 34 Fairview, to that house, and then also John's house. I remember that specifically. I didn't think anything of it. I actually felt bad. I honestly thought this woman's an idiot. She should not have been drunk, and she should not have knocked him over. And then a friend of mine years later, or probably a year later, she posted the Turtle Boy article, and I immediately reached out to her and I said, stop, you got to take that down. I think with Turtle Boy, I think you do get facts. He does bring the receipts, but then there's conjecture to his posts. But I didn't think that he had unlocked, a scandal, a cover up.
Right.
And then it took me a long time to finally recognize. After I had to read the articles, it had to be 2 or 3 articles in a row, and then more and more the pieces were put in place. And I think the thing that really stood out to me is that Brian Albert never left his house.
Yeah.
That just does not make any sense.
Right.
The lights would have been flashing. There would have been sirens. We know about the dog. The dog would have.
Okay, guys, this is where it really gets interesting. This is where I was like, okay, he really does believe that Karen Reed is not guilty. So let's pay attention to what he says. There's some interesting things.
Been barking, and he's a first responder.
Yeah.
He would have, if that had happened, like the police said it, he would have gone out to help him.
Right.
He would have gone out, and at least, at the very least, he would have been out in 5 or 10 minutes.
Right.
Maybe not right away, but to not come out of the house, and we saw Jen McCabe going into that house, which was chilling to me. And I don't remember the exact time, but it was about 20. It was after everybody was gone. So the paramedics are gone. It's just the Canton police officers, right, who we now know are very tainted.
Oh yeah.
And that's when she's like, okay, we can know the lights came on is right after the ambulance left.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, that's everything. Am I not correct? Everything I said all along. How did you not see the lights in your bedroom? Even though we have curtains and blinds, it still permeates through the edges and all of that. There is no way he did not hear it or see it. And the excuse that they had been drinking, you would have to have an alcohol level so high to knock your buttons out. There is no way that the Alberts did not know that. I want to say something I can't say. That a scene was going on outside their home. There's just no way. And this is the first person I have heard outside of witnesses for the defense that knew both Karen and John as not connected to Proctor say any of this.
Did you watch the Turtle Boy too, or were you just reading the articles? Like, did you start watching every episode?
I started watching it. It was compelling. It was entertaining.
Yeah.
The best episode ever is when he calls up Jill Daniels and she foolishly answers the phone, and her anger was just insane.
Fucking killed him. Karen did. And you know what? The truth is gonna come out. And you know what? Fucking Turtle Boy hated.
Well, but can I read the grand jury testimony right here? It says Colin.
At how angry she was with him, and she slipped and said, and it seems like it keeps coming up. You know, Higgins wasn't there, or Brian wasn't. Colin wasn't there when John was there.
Present.
Colin Alva was in the house, but prior to when John and Colin, Brian and Higgins and
At the next light, turn right.
why is it guilty until proven innocent?
And then they try to pull it back.
Yeah.
I think it was Allie McCabe who actually seemed to leak it out in the stand. And I don't think that was that incriminating. I think the most incriminating thing I've heard so far was Matt McCabe talking about the text messages.
Me too.
And the facial expressions. Jen McCabe literally creating in front of us what happened, looking at the jury constantly.
It was innocent.
I'm not asking for your explanation.
And Chris Albert going like this. And Brian Albert is doing this weird thing with his tongue inside of his mouth. Colin Albert's testimony was ridiculous. Colin Albert is literally saying, I don't know. I can't remember. I don't recall.
I do not remember. I do not remember. I do not remember. No, I don't remember. Not that I remember.
Again, you just don't remember.
Correct.
Okay. It's an issue with your memory, not an instruction that you received.
Correct.
Right.
And then he talks about falling and putting his fist down. When you fall, you palms up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I'm going to brace myself. You don't brace yourself with your knuckles.
Never.
So I think they've just been caught in so many lies the last few days.
Oh my gosh, y'all. Are you starting to see it? Are you hearing it? This is somebody that's not been and have any personal interest in the outcome of this trial other than he was a friend of John O'Keefe. He knew Karen Reed, but he was friends with John since childhood. He is out for the truth, no matter what that truth is. And this picture says it all. Look at those knuckles. You don't slip and fall in the ice and land on your knuckles. You land on the palm of your hand. You're going to have scratches here, not here. Those are fighting wounds. They're from fighting. He says he punched a wall. Well, let me tell you, when you punch a wall and you're in a fight, the bruising and everything looks differently. And if you punch the wall, show me the wall. Want the evidence of the wall. So I was pretty elated when I saw this because everything I have been saying all along matches what he says. AdaKay, there are blind dogs in Mexico that see the. I gotta put that up. Zach, you are so right. We got to put you up on that. AdaKay, they are blind dogs in Mexico who can see this. You're awesome, dude. I like the way you think. Okay, before we start, I want to thank all my subscribers and everybody who's watching. You are so awesome. For those of you who are new, I'm AdaKay. I am basically your alternate juror. And we have been officially streaming about 2.5 months now. And we have hit, oh my gosh, I don't even have the numbers, but I think it's 15, almost 1,600. I'm pulling them. Almost 1,600 subscribers. We're at 1,540 subscribers. So please subscribe. That's what the balloons are behind me because we had our 1,000 subscriber party just a few days ago. Okay, guys, here we go.
Days that it's unthinkable to me that anyone would express that Karen Reed is guilty. I see hundreds of circumstances, literally hundreds of circumstances. When you put them all together, it clear. You could take one thing and say, well, he didn't come out of the house. Well, he didn't come out of the house because he was sleeping, or he passed out, or he drank too much. That's why he didn't come out of the house.
Right.
That's one thing.
Yeah.
But when you put 200 or 300 different circumstances, there's so many of them. Sergeant Lank not interviewing the people separately, the interview taking place at the McCabe's house, nothing ever being recorded.
Right.
All these things, you put them all together, there is no doubt that she is innocent. No taillight pieces on the ground by Canton Police Department.
Yeah, that's huge.
So
too.
where there's pictures out there. There's pictures of 6 a.m. There would be lights on the ground.
Right.
There would be taillight pieces on the ground, but they find the cocktail glass, which is clear. My thoughts about the O'Keefe family are overwhelming in support for them and the tragedy, the multiple tragedies that they've experienced.
Yeah.
I've tried to stay away from saying anything negative.
Me too.
But each day it's becoming clearer that Karen is innocent, and yet we see or what appears to be hatred towards Karen. So you have a 600-pound vehicle, or is it 6,000 pounds? Right?
Yeah.
So a 6,000-pound vehicle backs up at any speed and hits another car, there's going to be damage, even if it's just paint damage.
Yeah.
So I think they fixed it, and then now we have the as long as Karen didn't hit the traverse, we can say that the taillight damage was from hitting him in front of 34 Fairview, which we all know is ridiculous because the accident reconstruction never took place until the FBI did it, and the FBI is making it very clear. And I don't think Yannetti would lie. He could get in too much trouble for lying about that.
Yeah,
and there's 3 experts that are going to testify. But yeah, that is my feeling, and it's sad. I think it's it's sadder than John John's death in itself, Paul should be livid at every single one of those Alberts that are getting up there and lying through their teeth, and it's obvious to the world. He should be. I don't know how he's able to contain himself. I really don't. I see that woman, McCabe's sister, sitting, behind him, almost directly behind him. It's infuriating seeing this take place. You've got Allie McCabe crying, and she's crying about all this harassment that she's gone through. Well, you're getting harassed because your family is involved. Your family did it. And she's done some harassment of her own.
Yeah.
So I really don't. I don't have it. I don't feel bad for her. I don't feel bad. I'm sorry. I do feel bad for her, but she's lying and she's trying to friend Karen Reed. So I don't feel that bad.
Not that bad, right?
Yeah.
She is she the one who went after Beatty's daughter and called her like or something like that? Or
so what I know about that is that there's a witness that's going to testify to seeing Caitlin Albert and Jen McCabe basically berating Tom and his daughter was there, and also another younger daughter was there. And their go-to line is you're banging a cop killer. I mean, we've seen it on X. We've seen it on Facebook. We saw it with Jill Daniels in her little interview. Oh, you're banging a cop killer. It's always, for whatever reason, it's always sexualized.
Yeah.
But what I heard is that Caitlin Albert and Jen McCabe were a part of that. And then there's that separate incident, which I believe, I don't remember the woman's name, Jill Thomas. Is that it? Turtle Boy had reported that I think it was Jen McCabe and another woman approached the girl and said something about putting a dick in her mouth and telling her to shut up.
Because she was talking.
Right.
Yeah. Jen McCabe's diabolical, man. Fucking awful.
Yeah. When she reenacted that
Y'all, I'm so sorry
Karen
for the language.
screaming Jen,
Jen.
that was one of the moments where you realize that this is an evil, manipulative person. She had rehearsed it over and over, and she was enjoying it. She was enjoying. You could see her beaming after she came up with a clever answer.
Yeah.
And then she would catch herself and get nervous, and she would create. The eyes would go down. The eyes would go to the left. She'd look to the jury. She'd say something looking at the jury. I mean, just the whole thing with those people testifying is the pattern.
Yeah.
They're all doing the same thing. They're saying, I don't remember all the time. They even use the same word. They say, yes, correct. Well, how do you avoid getting caught in a lie? You say one word because it's easy.
Yeah.
And then.
Can you rephrase that? They say, I'll say that.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Can you use different words? I mean, Colin Albert, he didn't remember anything except that he got home at 12:10. And then Allie McCabe getting the news that her Life 60 places her home. So obviously Allie must have driven him home later.
That was riveting when she did not see that coming, and she freaked out.
You didn't go home. You went through the home circle and completed a 7-mile drive somewhere, right?
I guess I thought I went home.
Objection, Your Honor.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't hear your answer.
I believe I went home.
Okay.
I was completing my drive out my house.
All right, but at 12:20.
Wow. Hold on, I got a call. Can I ask you, Ada, can you play a video from a channel about the Re-K system? I thought. When my mod gets back in, if you will, let me get a mod on that, Paul, but that's possible. Yeah, I'll get my mod on it. So everything that Turtle Boy has said, and once again, Turtle Boy, that's correct. Thank you, Ronnie. Paul Revere, join our Discord and you can place it in the, I got to get over there. There's a members chat. Put it in there. So everything that I've heard from Turtle Boy, and I not necessarily liking his roughness. He's very rough around the edges. But it's agreeing with this gentleman. And this is the first person I have seen publicly stand up and say, yes, this did happen. Yes, I don't agree with the prosecution. I agree with the defense. So this is huge. I wish they get this man on the stand. Okay. Interpreter, are we doing good? Okay, here we go.
6 a.m. on January 29th.
Yeah. And it's, you know what she did? She followed the Darville pattern that we see with all of them, including the judge. You deny, you attack, you reverse victim and offender. Mm-hmm. So as soon as she's caught in a lie, that's when she's like, okay, well, I've been bullied, and Colin's being bullied, and it's not fair. Even Matt McKay, oh, it's been 2 years ago. Okay, sorry, Matt. Sorry, you're inconvenienced about the fact that your family killed John,
right,
and now you have to go along with the lies.
Yeah.
Well, you're a part of it.
All that did was tell the jury that the general public thinks that you guys did this, and I think that probably connected some dots for them, you know.
Yeah. And I find it hard to believe that all 12 jurors are ignorant of this case. I find that very hard to believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I thought was very shady was Judge Bev, when she was talking about the intimidation and the bullying and how she wanted to allow that into court.
Yeah.
And I thought what they want to do is they want to make this about Turtle Boy.
All right, so you were both in agreement on what's the defendant's motion to exclude irrelevant and prejudicial evidence regarding alleged harassment and or intimidation of a witness, and the Commonwealth's for different grounds and different scope, actually. Motion to exclude mention of Aiden Kearney, aka Turtle Boy, and his pending criminal charges for witness intimidation. So though you both agree it's out, that doesn't necessarily mean that I agree with you that it should be out.
Yeah, because Turtle Boy has made statements. He has gone to people's homes, whereas Karen has not. So for them to, and it's like that with the trolls. The trolls want to talk about Turtle Boy. And you know, I try to see it all, but really the cross-examination from the defense is what that's appointment viewing. That is amazing.
Yes.
Adam Lally talking for an hour and a half, or having somebody on the stand for an hour and a half talking about every feature of the home and the weather.
And who, if anyone, was driving the ambulance to the hospital.
That's boring.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, on Tuesday, I think when Jen McCabe gets on that stand, I think that she's going to have a Matt McCabe moment where he's ready to fight David Yannetti, and she is going to really lose it and really reveal herself. I'm still waiting for them to just go, you know what? We got to drop the charges.
Me too.
This is not going well. When the defense gets up there and they have their experts and they have their witnesses, there's going to be witnesses that are going to get up there and they're going to talk all about Jen McCabe's manipulation and how right out of the gate, she was talking to everyone at the waterfall, calling them up. She talked to Kerry Roberts how many times? All day long they talked, and they barely knew each other.
Right.
And she was reaching out to that woman, Karina, and she was saying things like, you know, would you like me to refresh your memory about what happened at the waterfall? You know, she's trying to paint this picture exactly how she wants to, and it's very, very revealing. And I think with I thought that woman was an amazing witness for the defense. Very pleasant. You could tell she was very sweet. She talked about Karen and what she had to say about John and how, you know, taking care of the kids and then she talked about how Jen grabbed her arm and said, "You're coming with me."
Did you believe it was important at that point to ask Miss Reed to come with you, which would separate her from John?
There was never any idea of separating them.
Except for the fact the idea was, you're coming with me, not you two are coming with me, correct?
Incorrect.
By definition, if she came with you, you'd be separating her from John, wouldn't you?
So I think what's going to happen is you're going to see more of that type of thing where we see Jen McCabe's manipulation. We see it. We see her, just throwing herself into the mix and talking to. There's no way she wasn't planning this with Michael Proctor.
Oh, of course.
She's at his house.
Yeah.
She went to his house.
How did you know that Karina said? Did they say that in court that Jen McCabe called her and said, "Do you want me to refresh your memory"?
No.
Where did that come from?
No,
Sean.
It's just I know people in Canton.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know people that have been through the Michael Proctor, and they've been through Jen McCabe, and they tried to rope them in and make them a part of their story that is being told in different ways by Jill Albert and Chris Albert and Brian Albert, all sort of on the same page. Carrie and Jen with their little timeline. And it doesn't, I know Carrie, and it's shocking that she's gone along with this lie.
I can't believe it.
But I think she's just one of many people that have they've just embraced the fantasy world.
Yeah.
That Karen is guilty because it's easier.
Yeah.
And I just think that just speaks to weakness. Are you really going to try to put Karen Reed in jail for killing John when it's obvious that she didn't do it?
And Carrie is was such a like supposedly a close friend of John's. Like,
yeah,
I don't understand.
We have to remember that. For me, I went a full year believing Karen is a dingbat who knocked John over, and John must have been wasted.
Yeah,
and that's why he got knocked over.
Right.
That was the narrative that was out there, and everyone accepted that blindly. And for the people that are directly involved in this, right, as it's unfolding, it's very hard to analyze it because you don't have all the facts.
Right.
So you have Jen McCabe, who is a master manipulator.
Yeah.
And then you have Carrie, who is just I think she's just a sweet kid, but she is needy.
Yeah.
And she can't think for herself.
Right.
And that's what that's what one of the reasons why Karen is in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Because she couldn't simply say, well, this doesn't add up here. There were no taillight pieces and something is fishy. Because I know that thought is planted in her head. It's there. It's just being suppressed.
Don't you think, though, Carrie, she's so close to all these people, don't you think she's seeing things that behind the scenes that make her go like, wait a minute, they know that?
Absolutely.
But she's still going along with it. That's what I don't understand. I wonder if Jen, I wonder what Jen, so Jen has a story for everybody, like how she talks to Paul and what that narrative is. And with Carrie, I wonder if Jen ever acknowledges that they really did it, or if she's just saying, we know Karen did it. We have to do whatever we can to get her. I think that's probably more like it. Like, we know Karen's guilty, so it's okay to lie about this and lie about that, right?
Yep.
Can you talk about Carrie like a little bit? I know you know Carrie, right? How do you know Carrie?
Yeah. So I've known her, for a long time, high school, and then I dated her briefly when I was about 20 years old. Super sweet girl. I do remember times when we'd be hanging out, and a friend of mine, who was close with her, and he'd have you have a child who's stressing and they need to be calmed down. It was like, we got to get her occupied because her thoughts are spinning in her head a little bit. And another one of my buddies nicknamed her Sybil because the thoughts just are racing. She's not an evil, manipulative Jen McCabe. She's the person she's the perfect match for the manipulative Jen McCabe, in that she's so needy that she will do what Jen McCabe says.
Right.
They had these texts. Well, what do you think Jen McCabe said? She's the talker. I don't think Matt's a big talker, but she was out and after it.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's like she was made to do like that role. She was born for what she did, right?
Yeah.
She just stepped right into it and started doing it.
Brian, Colin, that you can tell that they're just mean and tough. And I think Colin was raised that way.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to elicit and care or love from those kind of people.
No.
You're just not.
You're just gonna get I don't remember about anything you try to go down that path, and anything they don't want to talk about, they're just gonna say I don't recall, I don't remember. In Brian's eyes, like I try to think about sympathy and how the jury will feel, and when Brian gets up there, they're gonna be wondering like, could I see this guy murdering somebody?
He's also a war veteran. He was in Iraq. He's probably already killed people.
He's probably already killed
PTSD.
people. Yeah.
I was scrolling through Facebook, and the Karen Reed situation had become a real hot topic. It was right after Turtle Boy's articles became very popular, and Paul O'Keefe was very quiet, and then he released on Facebook Carl Dougal's letter, which said that Karen did it, and there was no doubt about it. At the time, I regretted responding, and what I said basically was, slow down a little bit. It looks like Karen is innocent, and I was attacked. I got personal messages telling me that I was a disgrace, and the girl said, "I can't believe you were actually once a womp," and that was really surprising to me. And Kenny Dougal said, "I don't know who you are, but I can tell you're a horrible person." Now that's the type of thinking that goes. Well, you can't say anything positive about Karen Reed, or you just immediately get attacked.
Right.
And Carl Dougal was very friendly, and he sends me a message, and he says, "Mike, I know you want what's best for John and for Paul. Give me a call. We can talk about our disagreements at any time." And I talked to him. I talked to him for about 20 minutes, and he was he actually came off as very intelligent, nice, friendly. The thing that made me feel a little bit strange, though, was how much he talked at me. He didn't really want to hear what I had to say. He just wanted to get it out. And I thought the whole reason he's talking to me, he's trying to convince me, and he must not want any narrative that is pro Karen Reed out there. But it was just strange. Like, why would you're a cop? Why would you reach out to somebody who was never close with Paul or John, never close? Like, why would you care? Just let me say my thing, and to reach out and want to talk to me. Now, I slightly regret even calling him, but I was just super curious. I was like, let's see what this guy has to say. And he said a couple strange things. He said, Karen should have fallen on her sword. And he said John O'Keefe would have kicked Brian Albert's ass. Other things that he said were the EDR data is going to prove that she did it, which to me that's a horrible, that's a Kevin style argument, that future prediction.
Right.
This is going to happen in the future. You can't be wrong. Right. Because it's going to happen in the future.
Right.
And by the end of the conversation, I just couldn't wait to get off the phone because he was just boring the shit out of me. And he was nice. He was like, I just want you to keep an open mind. Keep an open mind. And at that time, I didn't think much of it, but I now feel like he's involved in this.
Yeah.
And I think he was the medium. I think he was the Proctor connection to the O'Keefe family. And I think that I heard he had the Traverse fixed. I don't know. It's probably something like that. It doesn't make
plausible.
It doesn't make any sense for him to be shoulder bumping Karen in court.
I don't get that.
Yeah, I think it's a
Okay. We have so much going on behind the scenes, y'all, and I am rearranged everything. So what used to be on this side is now on this side, and I'm pushing wrong buttons. I'm so sorry. There is so much behind the scenes that we did not get at this trial, and that's normal. However, I am so happy to see finally someone speaking on Karen Reed's behalf, because everybody is speaking on behalf of the prosecution. So, one of the things that frustrated me with the trial was there's a lot of I don't knows, and restating questions and all of that kind of stuff going on. And like you said, that is a tactic. When I was getting ready to testify in this huge series of trials, 18 times, 18 different cases I testified in, same, I don't know how to put it. It's kind of like Young Thug trial. We'll put it that way. Young Thug trial. And so I'm sitting here and testified 18 times. And I was taught if I think they're trying to corner me into saying something that isn't true, or I don't remember what I said 8 trials back, then one of the ways I can get out of it is, can you rephrase the question? I didn't understand what you asked. I can't recall, or I can't remember. That gives you time as a witness to go, okay, what did I think? What did I say? It gives you, it's stalling. That's all it is. It's stalling. But what I noticed in this trial is that there were a lot of witnesses using the very same verbiage. That's not normal. In staying, and some of them may say, I can't remember, I don't recall, I'm not sure, I may have forgotten. Instead, they may have said, I don't recall. Every witness, they prepped them well. So that's how I knew that we were having a problem. We still do not know. I don't think they have put out yet the actual verdict split, where the numbers were for this. So I think on the 22nd of this month, we will see that and hopefully find that out. Okay, so we are going to leave this and we are going to now go to the full interview. John O'Keefe's brother speaks out for the first time following Karen Reed's mistrial. And it's going to be all within me to not stop every 2 seconds. Okay, so let's share that. It is bad. That's all I can say. A lot of people are upset with John for giving this interview, because here's the problem about giving the interview. Paul O'Keefe, Okeefe, is the brother to John. So this is Paul, and he is actually doing an interview when they are going to retry this trial. They're going to do it again. And he's a witness. Why in the Sam blasted hell is he doing an interview? I don't get it. He shouldn't be interviewing. Is he not going to testify in the next part of the next trial? We don't know. But I think it compromises the case. That's my whole opinion.
How are you doing? How's your family doing?
I mean, we're doing all right, hanging in there. It's been a long
sound problem. Let me know.
Painful 2.5 years.
And here.
And I mean, with the mistrial that happened the other day, obviously wasn't ideal, but if we have to do it again, we'll do it again. So we're ready to go.
Did you, prior to jury deliberations, ever think a mistrial was even possible?
I kept everything was on the table, I guess, but obviously hoping and confident that we were going to get the conviction that we were looking for. So as far as a mistrial, yes, it's something we didn't want, obviously, but you know, it's just a bump in the road. And like I said, we'll do it again. We'll do it as many times as we have to.
You'll be back in court every day for another long trial.
Absolutely.
How are your parents?
They're doing all right. That's more of my concern, is that they have to go through this again. I mean, I'll do it 10 more times if I have to, but I hate the fact that they have to go through this all again. We don't know where it's going to happen, when it's going to happen. But I mean, overall, they're doing okay.
Mm-hmm. And they have John's kids now too, or your
Yeah.
sister's kids.
Yeah. So yeah, they're living in my brother's house in Canton. Raising my niece and nephew, who are 16 and 13. I wanted them to come down here and live with us, but my niece didn't want to leave Canton, didn't want to leave her friends, didn't want to leave her house, and kind of hard to force a kid who's been through as much as they've been through to kind of shake up their world, for I guess a third time.
Yeah, I mean, can you just talk about Kaylee and Patrick? I mean, they, because we didn't put them on camera or anything, of course, during the trial, I had a lot of people ask me, like, what were they like? And they seemed like, for a reason, very, very strong kids.
They're great kids. They're strong kids. They're resilient kids. They have every excuse in the world not to be good kids. My niece Kaylee, super strong. When asked if she wanted to testify, we told them they didn't have to, and she said absolutely she wants to. She wanted her voice heard, her story heard. Wanted people to listen to her. She felt like because she was 14 at the time, that no one wanted to listen to her. So she was strong and insisted on doing it. And my nephew was, he wanted to support her. So he said, if she does it, I'll do it. So I'm proud of them both for doing what they did.
Yeah. Yeah, they're really strong when they got on the stand. It was amazing. Do you feel comfortable telling me, just from all that you've learned over the last 2.5 years, like what you think happened that night?
Oh, we know what happened. We know that Johnny and Karen were arguing. It was kind of towards the end of their relationship. Things weren't well. They were drinking and arguing and fighting, and in an intoxicated state of rage and jealousy, she just decided that she was going to do something about it, and put the car in reverse and ran him down and left him there to die. And we figured it out as soon as she left the house that day. When she came over, we didn't talk to any investigators, state police, nobody. My mother had said, do you think she has something to do with this? And I said, we're not going to think like that. Went outside to the driveway to look at her car, and her car was gone. It was a blizzard. I knew what the driving conditions were like coming from the hospital to Canton. And I knew that they were going back to Dighton, which is a much further drive. Mm-hmm. So we put it together pretty quickly.
I was going to ask you that next. You took words out of my mouth. It was like, when did you realize? It was literally that morning.
Yeah. So I would say early afternoon when they came back to the house. She wanted to come over and see the kids. Didn't really interact with them at all. Was there for probably a total of 30 minutes. Didn't say much or anything. And half of her time was upstairs gathering her things. Then my wife spoke to her on the phone on their way back to Dighton. And she told my wife that just have to remember the bad times. And I don't think I'm ever going to talk to you guys again.
Was that phone call what made you sure of what had happened?
Absolutely, yeah. We already, like I said, we put the pieces together on our own, and that just really solidified it. Mm-hmm. Why would somebody say that? Why would someone say, if you didn't do anything, why would you say you're never going to talk to us again? Or why do you have to remember the bad times? Almost like justifying what she did.
Right. How would you have expected her to act in that situation if she hadn't done something?
More sad, empathetic, sympathetic. But like I said, when she was at the house, she barely said a word. Mm. She wanted to be there for the kids. My nephew came home. My niece was already home by the time she got there, and her family arrived. And I sat down, my nephew in the other room, she sat right next to him. I explained to him JJ's, something happened and he's no longer with us. She didn't say a word. And right after that, she went upstairs and started.
I have to stop here because it royally irritates me when you have people who think they can sit there and judge your guilt or innocence based on how you behave when you found your boyfriend unresponsive in the snow in front of somebody's house with a gash on the back of the head, cuts above the eye. You did CPR on him. You did everything you could to try and save him within your capabilities. And you're frantic. You're panicked. And so what do? Once you, and then you find out he's died, okay? But you also are taken to the hospital on a Section 12 when an EMS driver, an EMT, states that he did not believe you were Section 12. And for those who don't know, Section 12 is basically a psych evaluation because a police officer said that he believed you were suicide. I can't say that word. Self-inflicting of wounds possible. And all of this stuff. And then you get to the hospital. You later find out your boyfriend is deceased and all of this stuff. And then you go back to the house and you have children there. It's you get this adrenaline rush and then you get the dump. I bet by the time she got back to that house, she was on an adrenaline dump. She was spent. She was done. There is no harm, and I've seen it many times as a first responder chaplain. People who do have that crash and dump and then don't behave in a way you would expect.
All right, let's just admit it. That didn't happen.
So what is happening is she goes upstairs because he's deceased. She's not on the lease. She's not going to stay in the house. So she gets her possessions. Now, first of all, I've talked about it before. There is a lot of people know this. When someone passes away and it's so publicized, you will have people trying breaking into the homes and stealing things. She knew that she wasn't going to be staying in that home anymore. So she felt that that was what she had to do. Let me get my personal belongings. I'm going to go with my mom and dad, and I need to take care of myself. Doesn't mean she's guilty. It just means that she didn't respond in a way that you wanted her to respond, in a way that you would feel better about the situation. He says it's all about Karen Reed. Well, let's listen to his words. It's all about them. Were they concerned about her welfare? How was she doing? He had her pegged as the person who ended the life of John O'Keefe from the get-go. Nobody cared about her. To me, he's an AHH. Fill in the blank. We're moving on.
Gathering her belongings, and the next thing you know, they were gone.
Oh my God. But yeah, it's hard. It's strange behavior.
Very strange. Yep.
When
strange in there.
When did the whole narrative of her version of events become known to you?
Well, if you remember her first arraignment in Stoughton District Court,
yeah,
her attorney, David Unetti, had said this is a tragic accident. His client had no criminal intent.
Mm-hmm.
And then, fast forward to, I guess, when Alan Jackson came on board. And, they teamed up with a blogger to get their story that they concocted and put together and flooded out there. And people are only hearing one side of the story and coming to conclusions before actual evidence in the trial had actually begun.
Dagnabbit. Okay, guys, I got a new device that I push one button instead of two to talk, and I just installed it, and I'm so used to pushing other buttons. I'll say it again. He has Karen Reed pegged without any other investigation, without any other considerations, but yet he's saying here in the trial, I mean, he's calling the kettle black. He had her pegged. He didn't investigate any other option. And now he's saying Turtle Boy and everybody on that side of the fence is doing the same thing. They're not looking at anything else. She's innocent. They don't care. They're not supporting any other possibilities of who ended the life of John O'Keefe. What? They cannot. Oh, yeah, it is. I'm reading some of the comments. You're calling the kettle black. I call your BS. You're speaking out of both sides of your mouth.
So a lot of the public was misinformed, because they were only getting one side of the story. And, we didn't come out and tell our side of the story or, what we thought or knew happened. We've kept a low profile and have been silent through this whole ordeal. But, now it's time. Now it's time for people to understand the truth. And the jurors, we thank them. They did a great job. They put in a lot of hours, paid a lot of attention, worked hard. Unfortunately, they weren't able to come to, a consensus as far as a verdict goes. But, we have another chance at it. And, hopefully the jury that we get for the second time around will, we'll see things more clearly.
So, just so I'm clear, you think this all started when Alan Jackson showed up, and Karen, throughout the course of this trial, you think she knows what she did?
She knows exactly what she did, and she's trying to buy and lie her way out of this, refusing to take accountability for her actions. Not only that, but pointing the finger and blaming innocent people.
Yeah.
Isn't that exactly what y'all have done? You've done the same thing, dude. Oh, come on, play.
Talk to me about that. I mean, because the thing is, it the story on the defensive side is not just, oh, she didn't do it. It's she didn't do it, and all these other people did.
Yeah, I mean, she's pointing the finger at everybody. Everyone's lying except for her, according to her. I think we had 67 witnesses testify. 68. I'm sorry,
That's
testify.
all right.
And according to them, they're all lying and they're not credible. And, which, I mean, there's first responders that were just doing their job that day. Jen McCabe, Kerry Roberts, all they did was pick up the phone and help because she was asking for help. And according to them, the only one telling the truth is her.
Right. So I don't even know what to call them. We have a variety of names. The pink people. They turned on all those people first. Jen McCabe, Matt McCabe. But then how have they treated you guys over the course of the last year and a half?
Well, if you just go back to any video of us walking into court during pretrial hearings, yelling, screaming, calling us names, I to this day, I don't know what I did wrong. I get messages all the time, whether through Facebook or other ways of communication, telling me that I'm a moron, I'm stupid, need to open my eyes and all this stuff. But I ignore those. I don't really care what people say to me because this isn't about me. This is about my brother. And I like to think I know a little bit more of what's going on in the case than, people that are just reading stuff on the internet. And there's been things said about me, accusations about me, all types of things that just aren't true. But again, I just brush it off because this isn't about me.
So if these people buy into this big conspiracy, right, that Brian Albert's a murderer or whoever, okay, if they buy into that, why are they turning on you guys? Has that ever made sense to you?
Because we don't believe in a crazy...
They're turning on you? On you? Okay. You're the ones who bully people. The McCabe, you, the Alberts family, Higgins, and your little group are the ones who were bullying people when they come out of a restaurant and walking down the street, i.e., Turtle Boy. You guys were held up at the VFW. And when the news media and other people show up to film, that's where you are. You and other people were flipping the middle finger through the window. I mean, you're the ones who are being the bullies. Just because somebody is standing in the street filming your home, which is legal, and you don't like it, you bully them. You got it right, Karen. You are not the victim. Your brother was the victim. I understand that their family has lost somebody, and I want to talk about this real quick. Your family lost your brother. It has been a nightmare. You've lost, sure. Interpreter's going to take a break. I'm going to talk a little bit because I'm going to say things that I have said before. I'll sign for myself. I can sign for myself. Let me get me in the position. Okay. It's awful when a family member has passed away. It is hard on all of the family. We want to have sympathy for you. We understand that how your brother passed away is awful. We all want justice for John O'Keefe. We really do. But the way that you're seeking that justice to me is wrong. Is wrong. Understand that the police and the other investigating agencies really messed up the investigation. That is true. And that's not on the O'Keefe family at all. That's not on them. But how the O'Keefe family respond is what they're responsible for. So I really feel bad for the O'Keefe family because they have lost a daughter, a son-in-law, and a son. And that's awful. No one would want to be in their shoes right now. However, this interview frustrates the hell out of me. Okay? I want to take a moment to thank everyone. All of you are so special to me. This YouTube channel could not have happened without all of you. And I appreciate your subscriptions, your likes, your comments, all of that. So thank you so much. And all of my mods, you are top notch and amazing. Love you. Okay. Let me see. This is the tip of the iceberg. Wait till the truth reveals, and trust me, it's coming. All of the people involved are being watched by the FBI. All. So let's watch a little bit more. When the interpreter is ready, she'll come back. Oh, I want to say thank you, everyone who has supported my search and my desire to have an interpreter and making this YouTube channel accessible to all deaf and hard of hearing. It's important. And I'm catching everything now because I would miss words and have to really, really watch. It was really hard sometimes when I couldn't hear and read at the same time. So thank you all for your support. If you know a person who's possibly hard of hearing or deaf, please share, because in the future, we're going to have other things other than just court. When there's no court, we will watch other things as well. So thank you so, so much. Oh, just awesome people. Okay, here we go.
Conspiracy theory that holds no merit, no evidence. I mean, we know these people. I mean, Jen McCabe has been a family friend of ours. She was friends with my sister. We've known her for over 10 years. She was very helpful with, picking Kaylee up to and fro when he took over raising the kids. Kerry Roberts, we've known for a very, very long time, right? And at the time, she didn't really know Jen McCabe or any of the McCabes or Alberts. And her testimony corroborated everything that Jen said. And the defense, I think, was scared of her and didn't even want to ask her any questions. They just wanted her off the stand. And I guess the negative or hate that's directed towards me, mostly me and my.
No. Oh, no, honey. That's not the truth. They did not want her off the stand. Do you know why? The defense did not ask questions because they felt they had the defense did not want to ask any questions because the prosecution had caused enough damage to themselves that they did not feel by questioning the witness would help them any more or any less. You do not have to question every witness if you're the defense group. You do not. I thought it was smart.
My mother is because we support these people who are being falsely accused of something they didn't do, right? And their lives have been turned upside down and partially ruined. Colin Albert, who was a 17-year-old kid at the time, his life has been turned upside down and ruined. I've gotten to know the Alberts through all this, and they're all good people. So just because we don't believe in a crazy conspiracy theory and we believe that Karen Reed is guilty.
Okay. Why is this so loose all of a sudden? There we go. Okay, one thing I want to say. Really? You're so full of it. Really? I don't believe you. Not at all. Colin Albert, he has enough troubles of his own. He's a fighter. He's a drinker. He's age 17. And his parents and the people around him, like the Alberts who know he's not old enough to drink alcohol, are giving that boy alcohol in their home. They're supporting his alcohol abuse. He fights all the time. He makes his own trouble. This court is not destroying his reputation. He's doing it himself. And why were not charges given to the Alberts for serving this boy alcohol in their home? That sucks. That sucks. Really bad. So, in my humble opinion, all of y'all are responsible for creating the situation with these kids and the use of alcohol when they're underage. And then you're blaming this court trial and other people. You're the
of killing my brother. You know, they take it on us.
Doesn't it feel sometimes like your brother's forgotten in all of this?
Absolutely, all the time. It's turned into the Karen Reed show. You know, she walks through a crowd that cheers her on. She goes out in public, takes pictures, signs autographs. She's just living her life like nothing's ever happened. And meanwhile, my brother's been gone for almost 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want people to go back to who the victim is in this. It's not her. It's my brother.
What do you want people to know about John? You call him Johnny. Kids call him JJ.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my older brother. So, I mean, generous, loyal, sometimes a pain in the ass to me. Oh, I'm sorry, pain in the butt to me.
You can say pain in the ass.
You know, just because.
You could say pain in the ass. Really? You are feeding into his frustration, his anger. You are enjoying every moment of this, and you are a reporter. That's not your job to encourage the BS. There's a comment about a duffel bag that Proctor had that belonged to Higgins. I saw a video with him walking out with that bag. So I'm going to start playing, and when the interpreter's ready, she can come back in. I'm not saying that for her. I'm just educating everyone on YouTube how the interpreting works. It is not normal for interpreters to sign for more than about 15 minutes at a time. However, a few of us have the skill to do so, but we still need our breaks. And she is volunteering her time right now, and I greatly appreciate it. And we all needed coffee this morning to wake us up because we all had long nights. So we're going to go back to the video. But yeah, I am not getting myself involved in his BS.
Because he was my older brother, but he just was there if you needed him, took care of the people that he loved, good-hearted guy who didn't deserve any of this.
That is true.
He rearranged and uprooted his life, went from a single the bachelor lifestyle living in Boston to moving into instant dad role.
Mm-hmm.
And
that is true.
You know, that's something that obviously everyone admires him the most for, and I do too.
Yep.
It wasn't easy for him at the beginning, but he learned to figure it out, and we all helped as much as we could without getting in the way. Just an overall good guy.
And I assume he chose to do that, right?
Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I'm going to pop this up because she needs to see it. Wait a minute. You're singing his praises. But what about the girlfriend that stepped in, took care of the kids while he worked, took them to their games, took them shopping, took them wherever they needed to go? She stepped in as a stepmom kind of figure. And instead of being appreciative of that, you give him grace for needing time to figure out his role as a parent. And it wasn't perfect, but he did the best he could do. What about the same grace for Karen Reed? And the thing is, she's not even their family. I got to tell you, any woman who steps in the role like she did has my utmost respect.
Right? I mean, your sister's situation is unimaginable.
Yeah. So then, after my brother-in-law passed away, we had to figure out, all right, what do we do? And at the time, my wife and I were like, all right, we'll take them in. At the time, we had a 3-year-old and an 8-month-old. So we were trying to figure out how are we gonna do this. Our house is small. We didn't really want to live in the house that they both passed away in, but we were trying to figure it out the best way possible. And then Johnny just stepped up one day and just said, I got it.
Wow.
And then pretty much moved in the next day and took it from there for 8 years.
So there's a reason that's why so many people describe that that's what they admired about him.
Yeah. I mean, a selfless act, changing your life, to take care of his family and people he loved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, that's him in a nutshell.
I know I asked you how your mom's doing already or how your parents.
Question. Maybe somebody can know. Wasn't there a battle between the parents and John for custody of the children? Or was it between the parents and Paul after John died? Anybody know that? Question.
Parents are doing, but I just can't imagine for her losing 2 kids.
Yeah.
Is she like a different person now?
She's a strong woman. I'll give her that. Yeah, it's unimaginable, just to lose them in the ways that she did. My sister suffering for 5.5 months with brain cancer.
Yeah.
But at least had the opportunity to say goodbye. And then, with my brother just being taken from us so quickly and senselessly, I don't know, somehow she keeps it all together. My father, quiet, kind of keeps to himself.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, overall, what they've gone through it's unfair.
Yeah.
It's unimaginable.
But
they're strong and they keep moving forward, and just same thing. They do what they have to do to take care of the family.
I have to ask you, we got ushered out of the courtroom pretty quickly on Monday. You had a little exchange with Karen. Do you mind? What happened there?
So throughout the trial, she likes to turn and look at me and smirk. She's never once made eye contact with my wife, Erin. So when the mystery...
Oh, hell no, you don't. Oh, no, you don't. All of us watched that trial, and you sat there the whole time, burning holes of hatred through that woman. The whole time. If she glanced over there at him every once in a while, she did better than I did, because I would have done. Because let me tell you, if I was in her shoes, I would have my attorney kick his butt out of the courtroom for intimidating the defendant. I have held my tongue on this. And when I heard this, I lost my you know what. You are the one who sat there intimidating her. And the interesting thing is, in this particular courtroom, it was so small, they could have reached out and touched each other. And the jury was sitting dead across from this jerk, and they could see his behavior. I have no sympathy on this part for this man. I have sympathy that he's lost a sister, a brother-in-law, and a brother, and they are grief-ridden beyond anybody I've ever known. But that doesn't give you the right to be a jerk. And you did it as best you could in that trial. And if people disagree with me, that's okay. This is America. We can disagree. And this is my channel. I'll get off my soapbox.
This trial was announced, she turned and looked right at Erin and gave her a smirk, and then went over and hugging and celebrating to some extent. And I just said, you know, you're not done yet.
Did she say something back?
No, but I mean, it was an emotional day, emotional moment, being in that courtroom, sitting so closely, and that's something that she wanted.
Yeah, can you talk about that? I mean, the courtroom switch, we know all the legal reasons why it happened, but you guys were like arm's length from her for the entire trial.
Yep. I guess after a while, you just got used to it, but yeah, showing up every day, sitting that close to the person that took my brother away from us, it was not easy. It took a lot to not say anything, but again, it wasn't about me. We were there for one purpose and one purpose only, and that's to get justice.
It wasn't about you. You made it about you. And on top of that, if it was a court decision, legal decision, or situation that was out of the control of the defendant herself, why are you blaming her that you were in a tiny courtroom so close to each other you could have touched each other? You are not the victim. And one thing I've got to say, this man, and I'm going to put this up, I'm going to do it now, and we're going to be off screen for a minute, but I'm going to still talk. So no one, this man is why we're here. Justice for him, not justice for Paul, not justice for anybody else, only for John O'Keefe. But this woman is fighting for her life. Who are you to determine what is correct and incorrect? You're a spectator.
Justice for Johnny.
What did Adam and Laura say to you guys afterwards? Like, what, looking ahead?
Yeah, I mean, they were disappointed in the outcome, but Adam said, he goes, we're just going to do it again. He goes, I'll start tomorrow. So they're confident. They have the truth on their side. Unfortunately, if you pay high-powered attorneys enough and put enough lies out there, you start influencing people to the point where there's just no turning back. I think people just don't want to admit that they were wrong or duped. But they're confident, and we're going to go at it again.
He being Adam has been like, he's kept to himself a lot, similar to you guys over the course of this.
Yep.
Do you think that's been hard?
I'm sure it's been extremely hard on him. He's not the type that looks at social media or pays attention to any of that stuff. He just keeps his head down and does his job.
Good for him.
He's not the flashy attorney that wants to be on camera all the time and have press conferences on the stairs like some people. He's just a hardworking, I guess nose to the grindstone kind of guy, and just does his job. It's a very difficult job, but he's never once really complained about it, to us anyway.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard on him. I know it's hard on Laura. I know it's been hard on everyone who's been involved in this. But everyone's determined that we're just going to do it again.
Has your circle of like the people who support you guys, Has it grown? Has it gotten smaller over the course of all the noise outside of this?
So for me personally, I've kept my circle smaller. People that you were friends with or haven't seen in a while, you just don't know where their mind's at.
Yeah.
What they believe. So we've been forced to become very kind of like defensive, not as outgoing as we normally would be. But I think recently I think we're gaining some more support. I think people have been afraid, to show up to court and I guess counter protest to the people that are outside. I think people have been in fear, but I think that's starting to turn. I think people want justice. They don't want this influence of social media and public perception based off of lies to win or to take control over this.
Do you want people to show up with
We'll take all the support we can get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, we're not going to turn anybody away. I mean, every time we go to court, we're kind of portrayed as the bad guys.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's we lost a loved one, but somehow we're still, I guess, vilified for just not believing in a crazy conspiracy.
Yeah. On that note, was it hard for you at all? I mean, there were certainly some moments in the case where there were weak spots exposed, right? Like I think about the solo cups and Trooper Proctor, who now is facing job consequences as a result of this. What was it like for you to listen to those moments that weren't necessarily benefiting the state's case?
Well, as far as at the very early stages, I mean, a crime scene during a blizzard can't be an easy thing to navigate. And yet, they found evidence, they found a sneaker, they found pieces of taillight, obviously you're not going to see everything under a couple feet of snow. So I think they improvised the best they could. Every investigation is going to be kind of scrutinized to some degree. But, they did what they had to do with what they had. And with the weather conditions being what they were, they just, like I said, had to improvise and do the best they could. As far as, Michael Proctor's comments, I mean, he even said, too, they were unprofessional, which we agree with. But, this guy, his life's been ruined,
Whoa. Whoa. Wow. Miss Kevin, yes to your question. Absolutely. Definitely put it in comments. Yeah, can you go ahead and post it in the StreamYard comments? I will sign for myself, and if I do a wrong word, you can correct me, okay? All right. First, the situation with Proctor and the curse words and the see you next Tuesday word and all of that. And now he's being moved into another job because of his behavior. You can't say that's right. So, what did you say? Yeah, we know it was bad, but no. Proctor did everything he knew was wrong. And the situation with the weather and being a blizzard and all of that, you still have to do the investigation correctly. You do investigation correctly. You do not go to another cop's home across the street and go, Hello, we're doing an investigation and we don't have anything to collect the blood. And then he gives you red Solo cups, and then you walk back across the street and you scoop up the snow and the blood into the cup. You don't label the cup. You do nothing. Do nothing but put it in a gas station bag, not an evidence bag. Are you kidding? Are you for real? And you accept that kind of investigation of your brother's death? I'd be so pissed off. I wouldn't accept that. I would be more upset with the investigation than all of the rumors and gossiping and everything else that's happening. Your focus is in the wrong place. Your focus should be on the investigation and the quality of that investigation, in my humble opinion. Okay, guys, we have a person. Oh, did we get it, Miss Kevin, in the stream here on stream or in YouTube? We have a friend, Vicky. She is from the RA panel. She is 50 away from her first 1,000, and we know how awesome that is. So please, I'm going to go over there and subscribe right now. Please go and subscribe. Okay? Okay? Please do that. That would be fabulous. Let me go over and I already subscribed, so y'all subscribe, okay? She is right now, she is at 959 subscribers. So, yes, let me copy, um y'all go over and support her. She supported me, and I want to pass on the love. Okay, guys, back to the video.
Getting his personal cell phone, which was something that should never have happened. Josh Levy should never have been intervened in this. An FBI investigation was launched due to cherry-picked evidence that was, or pieces of discovery that was only provided by the defense. Like this is
It's pretty
unheard of.
unprecedented.
To not even speak to the Norfolk District Attorney's Office, to not speak to the Mass Police to see what they have for discovery and evidence. Just to intervene himself in that way, and which casted, a shadow of doubt on the investigation. So I think he has a lot of questions that need to be answered.
Yeah. Do you get updates on that?
I do not. I do plan on trying to sit down with him at some point.
Yeah.
Whether I got a knock on the door, I sent him an email, but I'm sure I won't get a response. But if I have to go knock on the door and ask for a sit down, that's what I'll do.
Is there anything I haven't asked you about that you want to make sure people know?
In all this, I just want people to remember the actual victim. I think I mentioned it before that it's not the Karen Reed show.
Yeah.
This is about a good man.
It's not the Karen Reed show, but sure in hell is not the Paul O'Keefe or the O'Keefe family show. This is all about John O'Keefe, period.
Whose life was taken way too soon.
Agreed.
And for selfish reasons. And has created a void in our life that was already an enormous void, but just made it even that much bigger. And I just want people to remember him and want him to get the justice he deserves and that we deserve.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Karen Reed going to prison.
No.
Thank you.
The answer to that question is whomever ended the life of John O'Keefe should go to prison. That's my humble opinion. What is your? I think it's interesting that we've kind of we kind of sit here, and I think I am going to get a black hat, and it says N, so there'll be I, M for my, H for humble, O for opinion, and if some people think it spells I'm a hoe, then their mind's in the wrong place. Everybody's laughing in the background, and I know my interpreter's holding that one back. She's saying nothing. Okay, so with that interview, we're going to put a rest on the no. Oh, there it goes, my fan. We're going to put a rest on the situation with the Karen Reed trials. I don't have an issue with the family feeling that they've been robbed. They've been robbed of a life. They've been robbed of the future wife of John. They were robbed of grandchildren through John, weddings, great grandkids, Christmases, birthdays, all of that. The same with the daughter and the son in law that passed away. But you can't sit there and put a bullseye on someone's back and try to accuse them and say they're the only possibility of this person. This person is the only possible killer or end a lifer. I'll learn it, y'all. It takes time. I don't think Paul really helped the situation at all. I think that actually you may have heard it. Paul, they call him the guy. Pin it on the girl. You think Proctor's a good guy. Wow. I don't think he thinks Proctor is actually the good guy. I think he did say Proctor should not have taken Karen Reed's phone and looked at it and done all the things that he did. He would like to sit down with them one day. I get that. However, I don't think, though, that he is in a place where he thinks Proctor should be held accountable to the level in which he's getting ready to be. Have you seen the deaf comedian DJ? Yes, we know DJ very well. He is awesome. I know him. I've met him a few times. He's cool. He's cool. I will say I have seen a deaf person hop into chat. I will tell you that they may not comment, but I do know that they are watching. So welcome, welcome. We love to have you. You are blessed and welcome here. Okay, so now we're going to transition to the Alec Baldwin trial. Oh my gosh, y'all, here is the new thumbnail. And if you notice, we have a little interpreter button. So people will know that we have interpreting for that particular viewing. And once again, Miss Diane, thank you. You are doing so great. And we are very humbled by your presence here today. Okay. For those of you who do not know, including our interpreter, Hannah Gutierrez was charged with being, was it first or second? I think it was first degree first degree involuntary manslaughter. So how I would sign that is first degree not willing. Yeah. And so um, she received 18 months in jail. I'll tell you, in some states, that would have been 18 years in jail. Yes, you were right. John's clothes were left in Proctor's trunk for days. So in the situation with Hannah or HG, she was the defense. I'm sorry, excuse me. The prosecution against Alec Baldwin has summoned her to court to testify against Alec Baldwin. But the problem with that is her lawyers filed a motion requesting the judge to deny that request. Why? Because Hannah is in the middle of an appeal on the case that she's serving time on now. And she has another case that is open because she carried a lead shooter into a bar. I'm like, you're an armorer. You know the law. Why in God's green earth would you do that? I'm all like, I even know better than that. Of course, I am licensed, but oh my gosh, I was like, cocky much? Okay, I got to give a little history. It's a good girl. Her stepfather is stepfather is a famous armorer. I think we're going to assign that maybe weapons technician or gun tech. Oh, I said it. Oh, well. I'm not monetized yet. I'm learning. But it is a tech. So, anyway, he is one of the number one armorers in Hollywood. Number one. And she said that she trained under him. She said she worked on a movie as an armorer. Well, let me tell you, it was not an A movie. It wasn't a B movie. It was probably a C movie, meaning she didn't do anything. However, when she was hired into the position she's in, it was on the coattails of her stepfather. Pew pew tech. I like that, but I have a hard time with the dyslexia saying pew pew. It comes out poo poo most of the time. So I'm going to say lead shooter tech. Y'all may say the other, that's fine. So Zach said, I love it. Assume every Tex gal has a lead shooter in her purse. No, I don't carry a purse. It's on my hip. I could have one in my boot too. Yes, I'm a Texas gal. So the whole situation with Hannah is that this was really her first big job in this field, and she was not skilled, not trained. She didn't know what the heck she was doing, and she was too immature. I think she was 22 at the time, and 22 years old, being an armorer on a set that had 30, 40 lead shooters of different sizes and different kinds, that's a huge responsibility. So, anyway, um, the Baldwin trial the prosecution wants to call her. So there's been a fight back and forth. They had talked about her pleading the fifth, but if they pled the fifth, it can cause a mistrial. So this is going to be a very interesting and delicate trial when it comes to Hannah being pulled in to testify. The judge sided with the prosecution. Um, the prosecution is going to be able to bring her in. We are coming up on 2 hours, so I'm not gonna show all the videos today, but what I do wanna do is say that the, um how do I put it? The thing about the, next week, we're going to start jury selection on Tuesday. I don't know if that's going to be live. If it is, we will watch it. We will be on every time that there is a live feed. We will be diving into also another trial when it happens. It's going to be the Sandra Birchmore. It's spelled Birchmore. Thank you, C. Love your channel. I love how you're inclusive. I will tell you, one of the reasons why I wanted to get monetized so fast was because I wanted to be able to bless this fabulous lady with flying hands for her awesome work because this is her profession. And I went to school to learn how to do what she is doing, but because of my hearing situation, I can't do it full time. And she's fabulous. She's been doing it for over 30 years. So I pledged $6 million when AdaKay is monetized. Zach, really? Don't get my hopes up. Don't toy with my emotions. If I ever got any kind of remotely, any kind of big amount of money, I would be setting up a fund to fund I would be setting up a fund to fund accessibility for other videos and such. Brandy sent you? See, that is awesome. Does Brandy know that I have an interpreter now? Please tell her and thank her. And Zach, we accept your pledge. We will hold you to that pledge. No. We do have a coffee fund. It's buy a cup of coffee. Buy me coffee. Um, that is awesome. I have had some people bless me with that. Thank you so, so very much. It really, really is nice because what I'm going to do is not only do I get a cup of coffee, but my puppers, my service dog, gets his puppy cup. Zach, you okay there? I my pledge. This is what we're laughing at, Diane. My pledge is backed up by the Amber Heard saving. Oh my gosh, that is so funny. This is one reason why I love you guys. You guys are so fun and lighthearted. Um, one of the videos I was going to show was Alec Baldwin on the side of the road with what did you do? Okay. Um, is on the side of the road talking to a news crew with his wife, and then they had crying kids in the car. But I decided I was not going to give that person the time or day or the monetization for that video. So let me look over here. Um, I need to go up a little further. Where did I put it? I can't find it now. There it is. Um, let me check this out. I think we can do this one. Nope, not that one. This one. The convicted rust armor Is there not a video with this link? I guess there's not. I was hoping that was a video with that link, but it wasn't. Here we go. We're going to show this. Okay, I got to get it on screen. And it also gives a little break. This is going to be talking about 6 pieces of evidence against Alec Baldwin from the Armor's or Hannah's trial. That is damning.
Original mark. So 1,000, 1,000, 3, I'm getting up. Right. Then when he drops his arm, Helena get out. He drops his arm. That means Brady's close. I'm going to start to really get up.
That's Alec.
What that is showing is his inability to control the lead shooter. He is pointing it, he's directing people with it. This is improper handling of the lead shooter. When you have an armor on set, she is the only one who can shut down a scene and stop this behavior, even over the director, even over your producers. If she says no, no is no. So this is going to be showed in his
Baldwin on video waving a revolver around on set as he's giving directions. It's just one piece of damning evidence that prosecutors will likely use against him at his upcoming trial for the death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins.
But like a lot of the times they might not even listen to me or really pay attention or be on their phone. Alec was on his phone a lot of that entire thing.
Plus, armorer Hannah Gutierrez Reed's police interview could also hurt the actor. I'm Anjanette Levy, and this is Crime Fix. When Alec Baldwin was filming Rust back in October of 2021, cameras were rolling almost constantly. It's a movie set. There's plenty of video of what was happening on set. Alec Baldwin faces an involuntary manslaughter charge for the death of Helena Hutchins. But if you take a closer look at the indictment charging Baldwin, there are actually 2 charges the jury can consider. Count 1 is involuntary manslaughter, negligent use of a firearm, meaning Baldwin was negligent when using that Colt 45 on the set. That's what the prosecution is saying. The indictment says in the alternative, jurors can consider involuntary manslaughter without due caution or circumspection, meaning Baldwin, quote, did cause the death of Helena Hutchins by an act committed with the total disregard or indifference for the safety of others. And the act was such that an ordinary person would anticipate that death might occur under the circumstances. So those are the 2 charges the jury will be asked to consider, one or the other. We've already gotten a preview of what the jury will see in Alec Baldwin's trial. The film's armorer, Hannah Gutierrez Reed, was convicted of 1 count of involuntary manslaughter at her trial earlier this year.
Okay. The situation with the we have people on 2 sides of the fence. One side of the fence believes that Alec Baldwin is 100% responsible because he pulled the trigger.
All right, let's just admit it. That didn't happen.
Well, we got 3 left, right, and on. Then the opposite side of the fence are people are saying he's not responsible at all because she handed the lead shooter and said it was cold. When you are on set and you're handed anything like a lead shooter and they say it's cold, what does that mean? That means it doesn't have a blank round in it or blank lead, nor do they have a dummy lead. What's the difference? The dummy lead looks like a real piece of lead, but it has no powder, nothing in it. It's just for show. So when you're watching a movie and you see a lead shooter facing the screen and it's a revolving lead shooter, and you see in the chamber what appears to be lead shooters, they're fake. It's like plastic. It doesn't do anything. It just looks like in the gun belt. Oh, dang it. Lead shooter belt. You'll see the rows. They're not real. They don't expel anything. Now, a that's the dummy. The other one is I forgot the word. Oh my gosh, what is it called? The other one actually has some powder in it and makes a sound, and actually has a little bit of a smoke that comes out of it. And that one, shake it and you can hear it rattle. That's how you know it's not a live, real piece of lead. Blank. Thank you. My mind went blank. So a blank is basically you take and you manipulate it to where when the hammer or the gun, dag nabbit, when the trigger is pulled, you hear a pop and maybe have some smoke, but nothing goes down range. So when the armor, Hannah, is setting up the lead shooter for the scene and hands it to Alec and says, cold, there's nothing in the chamber. There's nothing there. If she would hand it to him and say hot, that means it's a blank. Now, when he was in the church practicing the scene, the director was standing in front of him where she normally wouldn't be during the actual real filming, right? Camera's here, she's here, or the director may be off over here. But they're talking, they're discussing. He has it sitting, mic's further away. He was told to slowly pull it from the belt and go pop. There should not have been anything in it. It was told to him to be cold. So many people sit there and say, well, he should never have pointed it, ... Well, that may be true. Then you have people who are actually on the fence, and they believe that he has some responsibility but should not be equally charged with Hannah. So we're going to have a lot of different theories in this. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and play some more.
Much of the evidence will be the same at Baldwin's trial, but some of it will be different. At Gutierrez Reed's trial, the jury heard testimony about that Colt 45 revolver that Baldwin was holding when he accidentally shot Helena Hutchins that day. Baldwin has maintained the gun just went off and that he didn't pull the trigger. FBI firearms expert Bryce Ziegler testified about accidental firearm discharges.
So, how is this gun designed in terms of safety with regard to possible?
Dag nabbit.
Baldwin has maintained the gun just went off and that he didn't pull the trigger. FBI firearms expert Bryce Ziegler testified.
When the hammer is fully forward, as I mentioned earlier, the firing pin actually protrudes inside the frame. So if you have the cylinder fully loaded and the hammer is at rest on a chamber that has a live cartridge in it, that firing pin is actually sitting on the primer of that cartridge. So if I were either to strike the hammer or if I were to drop it and it landed on the hammer, it's going to fire that cartridge. So if you hit the hammer with enough force, it will detonate that primer in that position. And that's part of the design of this firearm. That's just how these are made. And if you were to look at the owner's manual, which this is one thing I did as part of my exam, you would actually see warnings not to carry this firearm with the hammer at rest on a loaded chamber. So a lot of times it's actually advised that you load one less cartridge in the cylinder. So you have one empty chamber, and that's how it's carried with the hammer forward on that chamber. So these are recommendations in the owner's manual. So this isn't some phenomenon. This is something that's known about the design of these firearms.
Ziegler conducted accidental discharge testing on the gun, which destroyed it. It's something both he and the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office knew could happen, but that's a separate issue. Ziegler came to one conclusion about how the gun fired from the testing he conducted.
Did you form an opinion about whether the handler would have to pull the trigger of the gun to make the gun fire?
My opinion is that the only reason this occurred is because of the breakage. So in order to move the trigger away from the hammer, that's typically accomplished by pulling the trigger. So in this case, the only way that was possible is because the trigger actually fractured.
Okay. So in order for you, just so that we're clear, in order for you to make the gun fire without pulling the trigger, when it was in the full cock position, you had to break it.
That's what I had to do in my lab. I can't account for all the other.
Okay. We may need to give a little bit of a break for Miss Diane. There's a lot of stuff I don't know if you've interpreted before about lead shooters. Don't know if you fully understand what's happening. Okay. For those who don't, there is something we call the trigger, and it has. I'm going to draw it for you. I'm going to give a demonstrative. I know it looks funny, but there it is. We're going to do this. We're going to split window real quick, make it easier on me. Okay. This sharp point here is where the thumb goes, and you pull it back. This flat is what stripes the lead. It has these little barbs. So when you pull it back a little bit, it clicks, and if you let go, it'll stop there. That's a quarter cock. Now, everybody's going crazy over that word, but that's what they call it. Quarter cock. If you pull it back 2 clicks, that's 1/2. All the way back is full. The harder it hits the firing pin, okay, they're talking about the quarter cock is not going to strike it as hard. Half cock and full cock. Anyway, just so you understand the term, because it becomes very important. Because if you pull the trigger all the way back and pull back the I just lost it. Pull back pull back the hammer. Pull back that hammer. Depending on how far and how you do it, you can release the hammer and the trigger, and the lead shooter won't go off. It's a way of disarming the lead shooter. Now, I'm not going to go into great detail. You will hear about it in the trial. But it's very important that you know, because Baldwin said first he never had his finger on the trigger. Then he said he did. Then he said it accidentally went off. So there's different stories he's given. Okay? So let's continue.
Other possibilities that may have existed in, some hypothetical scenario, but this is the result as I tested it in my laboratory. It would not fire without pulling the trigger in the full cock setting.
Also, in order for him to test it, he said he broke it, which now means it can't be tested by the defense. See, I love the monkey. You cannot destroy the evidence on the one side like the prosecution, because now the defense has no way to test it. Now, sometimes it can accidentally happen, but they're going to argue this a lot.
Negligent use of a fire.
Oops, I bumped it. My bad. Let me go there.
That you load one less cartridge in the cylinder, so you have one empty chamber, and that's how it's carried with the hammer forward on that chamber. So these are recommendations in the owner's manual. So this isn't some phenomenon. This is something that's known about the design of these firearms.
Ziegler conducted accidental discharge testing on the gun, which destroyed it. It's something both he and the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office knew could happen, but that's a separate issue. Ziegler came to one conclusion about how the gun fired from the testing he conducted.
Did you form an opinion about whether the handler would have to pull the trigger of the gun to make the gun fire?
No matter what.
My opinion is that the only reason this occurred is because of the breakage. So in order to move the trigger away from the hammer, that's typically accomplished by pulling the.
I can't talk over. I have a interpreter. There's a comment about a video showing he pulled the trigger. That very well may be. But once again, he has been given the lead shooter, being told it was cold. Not saying he shouldn't have checked it, but it should never have anything in it. That is 100% Hannah's responsibility. She was paid to do that job. When you are paid as a professional to do a job, you accept all responsibility and consequences. Just like when we're interpreting. If we interpret something wrong and a person passes away, that is our responsibility. Meaning, we're sitting in a doctor's office and the doctor said take 2 pills once a day, and we signed take 2 pills twice a day, and that person passes away. And well, let me back up. And that person has a caregiver, right? And that caregiver understands it from the client 2 pills twice a day because that's what the interpreter signed, and they pass away. You're not going to go and sue the caregiver. You're not going to put murder charges on the caregiver. The person who accepts responsibility for the job is responsible. That's my humble opinion. That may very well be true. All of this may be true in the comments. I play devil's advocate on both sides of the fence. That's my job. Once trial is over, I will give you my humble opinion like I did in the Karen Reed. But right now, I find holes in the prosecution, and when the defense is up, I will find holes in the defense. And the wheel. We call it the wheel of death.
the handler would have to pull the trigger of the gun to make the gun fire?
My opinion is that the only reason this occurred is because of the breakage. So in order to move the trigger away from the hammer, that's typically accomplished by pulling the trigger. So in this case, the only way that was possible is because the trigger actually fractured.
Okay. So in order for you, just so that we're clear, in order for you to make the gun fire without pulling the trigger, when it was in the full cock position, you had to break it.
That's what I had to do in my lab. I can't account for all the other possibilities that may have existed in some hypothetical scenario, but this is the result as I tested it in my laboratory. It would not fire without pulling the trigger in the full cock setting without being broken.
So that's not good for Alec Baldwin. He's basically saying that the trigger had to be pulled. Firearms expert Luke Haig also testified about the gun and how it was ultimately broken.
The piece that would fit into each one of those is the trigger. And the trigger is the black piece here, but the tip of the trigger in the industry is called the sear, S-E-A-R. That's the piece that goes in those three locations. And it really rests on this step when it's in the full cock position. So that's somewhat tenuous, and the pulling of the trigger causes it to slide off, the hammer to fall. There's a little piece in that circle I just drew. That's the broken off sear of the trigger. So it's an incomplete trigger. And finally, the object up here has two names. The company that makes this reproduction gun calls it the bolt, B-O-L-T. I've always called it a cylinder stop latch. It was the thing that was securing the cylinder in the safety position, in the full cock position, but not in the loading position. The left side of that goes up into the notches in the cylinder for those previous positions and drops down and allows the cylinder to rotate in the load position. So looking at those both photographically and in person, I could see that the full cock step or notch on the hammer was broken away, beaten away, or knocked away. Kind of hard to describe it if you don't see it under the microscope. And the sear was broken off. And the stop latch, the little wings, there's two pieces that protrude out. That also was broken. And the gun can't work in the normal fashion if it had been that way on the movie set.
Haig backed up the FBI firearms examiner's findings that the gun was working properly on the set and broken simply during that FBI testing.
What's your understanding of the circumstances of the blows you're talking about?
As I understood reading the examiner's notes and report, it was an evaluation of whether this gun was prone to accidental discharge by an impact to the hammer.
I want to take just a second to tell you about a great app I've tried that will give you cash back on things like gas and food. It's called Upside. It's not a confusing rewards or point system. Upside actually gives you real money back that can go straight into your cents back on your first tank of
set.
I did.
Who?
You. Both the first AD and his second in command on set, the second AD.
And when you say the first AD, who are you referring to?
Dave Halls.
And what did you say to Mr. Halls?
I don't recall my exact words to Mr. Hall, but I expressed my frustration and anger with the fact that safety seemed to be secondary to the production clock.
And without saying what Mr. Halls said, was Mr. Halls responsive to your concerns?
Mr. Halls ignored me and walked away.
Now, Ross is talking about Dave Halls' reaction to this, but keep in mind, Alec Baldwin is not just the star of this film. He's also a producer. That adds an added layer of responsibility to what's going on the set. Alec Baldwin was Dave Halls' boss, and Baldwin, prosecutors will argue, set the tone on the set. Adiego then described what happened when Helena Hutchins was shot.
I think Joel, the director, and Alec had some brief conversation back and forth about what the goal was for that shot, and I think Alec had drawn it once to kind of audition what he thought his action should be for Joel, and then he drew it again, and it went off. And, instantly, I mean, a firearm went off in a small wooden church. So the concussion, ears ringing, that moment of panic in everybody. I think the first person I made eye contact with was Helena, who was clearly injured by whatever that gunshot was, that noise we had just heard. And in fact, she was starting to go flush, and I think holding her right side. And then I think that Joel let out some sort of scream or made some noise that, to indicate he was also injured. And I think I just my attention went to Joel because he was the closest to me. I think I recall Reed and Serge moving Pew out of the way to help Helena get basically to lay Helena down and start tending to her, figure out what her injuries were or injury. And I started attending to Joel. I think I yelled out that if you can't help us, get the out of here. And someone called 911.
Adiego described what happened next.
Yeah, that's not right after the gun went off. Do you recall seeing Ms. Gutierrez in the church?
I do not.
And did Mr. Baldwin stay in the church?
He sat down in that same pew. I think in that moment when I yelled out that if you can't help us, you need to, get out of here. I think he sat down, and then at some point, I know I looked over and he was gone. So
okay.
Now, Alec Baldwin was likely in shock. Who wouldn't be? But I'm not sure that it helps him that he walked out of the church when his cinematographer was laying on the ground wounded. That could leave a negative impression of him on the jury. Brian Carpenter, a firearm safety expert, testified about who's at fault when a firearm discharges accidentally.
Are you aware, based on the review of the documents and the materials in this case, are you aware that there were, I think what you're referring to as negligent discharges?
Yes.
Okay. And are you also aware that with regard to those negligent discharges, Ms. Gutierrez was not in control of those weapons at the moment?
It is my understanding, yes.
Okay.
So, I'm not going to watch the entire video, but this gives you a taste of what we're going to be dealing with when it comes to the Alec Baldwin trial. All of what you just heard is going to come into play and is going to be actually more focused on with the Baldwin trial than it was actually with Hannah's. I know we're both yawning at the same time. My coffee is cold, but it's still good. That's one thing good about this coffee. Fresh roasted coffee, when it gets cold, it doesn't get bitter. So, what I'm going to do Monday is I will have more in-depth information. I will be able to give you more of a bullet point of what's going to happen with the Baldwin trial. And I hope you will come back and join us then. We have been on for 2 hours and almost 30 minutes today. I know most of you are used to me being on for 4 and 5 hours, 6 hours. However, we don't have court today, and I would like to be able to take a break, and I would like to give our interpreter a break. She has earned it, and by the way, my dear, you have some coffee coming to you. So if anybody wants to bless the interpreter with coffee or anything like that, the coffee fund that I have that's set up, I will send her a portion of that money. I will share it with her because she deserves it too. So if you have come from another streamer and this is your first time with me, thank you so much for commenting, liking, subscribing, participating. This has been a fabulous journey, and I look forward to many more years of this. And those of you who have supported me and now the interpreter in providing access to the deaf and hard of hearing community, we really appreciate it. It is very much needed. Does the interpreter agree? I'm going to turn the mic on and I'm going to ask the interpreter to introduce herself and give a little bit of information. She's done it before, but I'd like for her to share a little bit about who she is because you're going to be seeing a whole lot more of her, I hope and pray. You may speak.
I may speak. That's a wonderful thing.
Your sound is cutting out. Can you get closer to your mic?
Sure, I can. How's that? Any better?
Better.
All right, that's fine. Yes, my name is Diane. I usually go by Di. And the fun thing is when I am providing live interpreting to whomever, and they go, "What is your name?" I will tell them it is Diane, alias Di, not dead, but Di. And that's because so many hearing people go, "Do you want a live interpreter?" As compared to, "Do you want a dead interpreter?" So, anyway, I have this, AdaKay said, been doing this for a bit. My children have all grown up watching me swing my hands, but it's a profession, definitely a profession, and I just absolutely love what I do. ASL, like any language, because it is a language, it is a living, growing thing. So I'm one of the first people to say, if you see me use a sign that you're not sure about, or you have a different sign, let AdaKay know. And she will let me know because that is something I am constantly looking to do, is to grow and to expand. I have 4 children, 10 grandchildren. I've lost count of the grand dogs and grand cats, but my kids are scattered from, let's see, South Carolina to Arizona, 2 of them in Arizona, 1 in South Carolina, and 1 in Alaska. I raised
And
them.
you used to live in Alaska.
I did. I lived in a remote village in Alaska. You had to get there by either a little bitty plane or you got there by a boat. And if you
So
went out to dinner, if you went out to eat, that simply meant that you cooked it on your stove and went and sat on the porch.
yeah.
No restaurants, no stoplights, no entertainment on a Saturday night was my favorite thing to do, put my feet up and watch TV. That was entertainment.
And it's light all day or dark all day or whatever.
So during the summer, during the winter, the sun would come up about 10 o'clock. So I was walking to work because there were no cars, no traffic, I was walking to work. And then when my work finished, which was usually about 3:30, a little bit before 4, I'd be walking home. I'd still be in the dark because that daylight was from 10 o'clock to like 3. But during the summer, you have to have room darkening curtains because first time I ever went to Alaska, the first time I went, um, I'm sitting outside and there's this got a bonfire going because we were there for my daughter's wedding, and I'm going, why am I so tired? And I went in the house, and it was 12:30 at night. But you would have thought it was 6 in the afternoon. That's
Yeah.
why you need room darkening curtains. And I
Blackout.
apologize, I forgot to sign for the first part of this.
That's okay. Um, one of the things I wanted to explain, and you touched on it, is that the signs are different in different areas of the United States. So in Texas, this is trash can or trash. But in New York, this is trash. So sometimes there's some variations. We will have, if you join our Discord place, if you join the Discord and go into member chat for now, you can put questions or comments. We do have a thing, we'll set up a thing for the ASL interpreter. Um, Mind you, no negative talk. If you have a question, say you have a child that you found out is deaf and you need advice on where to go look and how to find schools for interpreting, that's fine. But it's a way to communicate with myself and the interpreter if you have questions. Okay. The other thing is we will not be sharing dirty words. If it's said in trial, it will be interpreted as it's said, but we will not be giving ASL lessons in this forum. But we need to, what?
I'm laughing. Why? Because I've never been one to swear. It's like they just don't fit, you know? And since I've become an interpreter, I have sworn more in my life than ever before. But it's not me, it's them.
Well, what a lot of people don't realize is an interpreter in the eyes of the law is equal to a telephone cord.
That's right.
Basically, what's said here comes out here. I tell people that it's not me saying these words, it is them. I am just a conduit. So, anyway, if you know anybody who's deaf or hard of hearing, invite them, please. We want to make this accessible. There may be times we don't have the interpreter because she's got another job that she's committed to, but that's okay.
That's what
Way for her to come back and interpret later. Say what?
I said, pray for me to finish that and come back.
Oh yeah, exactly.
What
You
you
kind of
said.
froze there. Okay, guys. So I am so blessed to have you. I am so excited to be doing this. For the last time for now, we are going to spend a moment of silence to remember the life of John O'Keefe. We will be doing the same for Helena Hutchins. I will make that for her. Someone kind of fussed at me, why are you doing that? That's morbid. And I'm like, no. We have to remember we are here for their justice. We are here to provide public access to their court, the deaf and hard of hearing, and anybody who wishes to watch. We do, or we will be monetized at some point, but I'm not here to make money off of their misery. But portions of the money will be used to provide access to the deaf and hard of hearing. So it's with a purpose. And I don't think that any of the victims or their families would have a problem with that. Okay, guys.
Before
We-
you go,
Huh?
before you go, I
Yes.
wanted to say to those, if you, as AdaKay said, if you know individuals that are deaf and hard of hearing, please let them know, because word of mouth will be the best way, and that is how they are going to have access and understand, because they have just as much a right to know what's happening in a trial, especially with a high profile person, but not only a high profile, but any person, any court case. So tell them.
Nanny Goat, you're welcome. Everybody, you're welcome. Okay, guys, let's get a little bit of energy music on. We're going to say goodbye with the puppers. We will see you Monday. I will put up a post as to what time. And court starts Tuesday. See you later. Thank you so much.